Welcome back, all you beautiful people. Today we are looking at Matthew chapter 10, so let's just dive right into this thing. So the first half of Matthew 10 is actually Jesus' instruction to his disciples as he's sending them out to do his work. Now in chapter 9, right before this, in one of the last verses, Jesus says this statement to his disciples: "The harvest truly is plentiful, but the laborers are few." So what Jesus is telling his disciples is that there is so much need in the world that is beyond him as one single person. Even though, yes, Jesus is God in the flesh, he's still limited by his human body. He can't get to everyone to heal them or set them free from demonic power. So this is where we pick up now with Jesus sending out his disciples to cast out demons and heal the sick. Look at verse 1. "And when he had called his 12 disciples to him, he gave them power over unclean spirits to cast them out and to heal all kinds of sickness and all kinds of disease." Now skip over to verses 7 and 8. This is still Jesus talking. "And as you go preach, saying, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Heal the sick, cleanse the lepers, raise the dead, cast out demons. Freely you have received, freely give." Now this is really unknown territory for these guys. Up until this point, they've certainly seen Jesus do all of this stuff and they've been amazed by it, but now Jesus is suddenly handing them the wheel and saying, it's your turn. You know, I remember when I was 15 years old and I got a permit to be able to drive a car as long as another adult was in the passenger seat. So of course I pictured myself driving some souped up sporty ride, blasting my music, impressing all my friends. Well, reality is a cruel thing, people. It was my mom's minivan with her in the passenger seat and her blasting Days of Elijah by Judy Jacobs to keep us company. Riding on a cloud. Maybe not the best comparison of what's happening with the disciples. The point is, they have never done this before and they are unsure of what to expect. So of course Jesus doesn't just leave them hanging, and in verses 16 through 20 he gives them a glimpse of stuff that is going to be coming down the line. In verse 16, "Behold, I send you out as sheep in the midst of wolves. Therefore be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. But beware of men, for they will deliver you up to councils and scourge you in their synagogues. You will be brought before governors and kings for my sake, as a testimony to them and to the Gentiles. But when they deliver you up, do not worry about how or what you should speak, for it will be given to you in that hour what you should speak." And then in verse 20, "For it is not you who speak, but the Spirit of your Father who speaks in you." Now, most of the disciples at this time probably didn't even realize how much of this they would actually endure. Did you know that every single disciple of Jesus was later martyred except for John, who was still imprisoned and tortured? Almost all of these guys would later go on to literally give their life for the message of Jesus, and here they are being warned that this stuff is going to happen to them, yet they still go anyway. Now, this is commitment. These guys know the stakes and they choose to go anyway, but why? What is all of this about? God's love towards people. The entire mission and goal for these guys is to reach as many people as possible with the message of Jesus Christ. All right, look over at verses 32 through 33. Jesus says something really interesting here. "Therefore, whoever confesses me before men, him I will also confess before my Father who is in heaven. But whoever denies me before men, him I will also deny before my Father who is in heaven." Now, this should be noted. Jesus leaves absolutely no room for secret discipleship. If you are going to be a follower of Christ, then be very open and transparent about it. So does that mean Christian bumper stickers all over my car? No, it means that you're unashamed of talking about Christ. Listen, when I talk to people, whether they're Christian or not, I often still find myself referencing God or prayer in my conversation with them. That doesn't happen in every single conversation. I don't bring it up randomly or awkwardly to try and tell them about Jesus. I simply refer to it in a non-threatening way, the same as if I was talking about the weather. Why? Because it's just a part of who I am. God is such an active part of my life that it would almost be more weird if I didn't even acknowledge him. And this is what Jesus is talking about. Don't be a closet Christian. All right, one more passage of scripture here. Look over at verses 34 through 39. "Do not think that I came to bring peace on earth. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I have come to set a man against his father, a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. And a man's enemies will be those of his own household. He who loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me, and he who loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And he who does not take up his cross and follow after me is not worthy of me. He who finds his life will lose it, and he who loses his life for my sake will find it." Well, that's weird. Not exactly a top 10 message to preach on a Sunday morning. So what is Jesus saying here? He came to set family members against one another? Well, understand this. Jesus is not attacking the family relationship, but is showing that no earthly tie to anyone else should detract from our loyalty to him. That means that sometimes our loyalty to Jesus will result in being shunned by other family members or friends. I've seen it happen happen, and it's sad. People lose friends sometimes when they follow Jesus. People are sometimes cut off from other family members when they follow Jesus. It's not right, but it does happen. And Jesus is saying that sometimes in order to follow him, you have to be willing to let those things go. Now, certainly we can pray for those people. We can try and reach out to them. But at the end of the day, your responsibility more than anything else is to continue following Jesus. For some, this road is easier than others. For some, it's more difficult. But ultimately, guys, what you will find is that following Jesus is the greatest decision that you could ever make in your life. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that is it for us today with Matthew chapter 10. A good one it has been, but not to be disappointed, there is still so much more to go in this book. Come back tomorrow for chapter 11. We are picking it right back up where we left off. Hope you all have a very beautiful day. So appreciate all of you being here. I love you guys. We will see you tomorrow.